Welcome back to another episode of Now That's Debatable. What's good with you young folks? It is I, your great leader, Sidney Smith. I am back to lead the Master Debaters back to righteousness. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate you. First things first, let's not forget to click up with those emojis, those emoticons, so let us know you out there. Hell, if you want to throw us a shout out and let us know where you're watching from, Delaware, Austin. We don't know where the hell all of you at, but let us know where you are. We would love to know. I'm sitting here side by side with my brother Deon Curry. Shout out to all of our Patreon folks. We just had a few new people jump in over the weekend. Thank you guys. Shout out to you. Everybody out there, I've said every single week, you guys are what makes the show go. You guys are what makes it all possible. You guys are what keep these motherfucking lights on. So thank you guys very much for that. To our folks out there watching on YouTube, what's good, what's good? I see David Greaves has jumped in on YouTube. Already saying good evening, gentlemen. What's up, big bro? For folks out there who are on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, shout out to you guys. Numbers go up every single week. Thank you. And I want to tell everybody out there who's listening or watching, share the show. Let people know what's good. If you love it, definitely. If you hate it, we don't give a shit. Share it anyway. Let somebody, you know what you do? If you hate this show, you share it with somebody that you hate. You teach them a real lesson. That's what you should do. You teach them a real lesson. With all that said, what's up, bro? What is good, Deon Curry? Fresh back from Nashville, fresh off the stage. Know you ripped it. What's good?
I'm still stuck at you calling yourself dear leader. I'm like, whoa, when did we become the People's Republic of Sydney?
You weren't watching. Slowly, like a game of Risk, I was moving my tanks.
Happy Monday to you and all the Master Debaters watching on all the platforms, YouTube, Spotify, here on Facebook Live. Thank you guys for joining us. It was a good weekend, fast weekend. Glad it's over. Ready to get into the show. I've been looking forward to these topics ever since we discussed them about 3 hours ago. So, yeah.
All right, Dave is with us already. Bruce is with us. What's good, Bruce? He said, watch it from a bedroom up in Indiana. Thank you, Bruce, for letting us know where you at. Mary is with us. Mary, we already know where you at. And Mary, we need to get with you because the three of us need to schedule our next meeting. So we may have to do that real soon. Facebook users, I cannot see that person's name, but it says, I look forward to these every Monday. Thank you for that.
That is Chelsea, whose birthday is tomorrow.
What's good?
So happy birthday, Chelsea.
Yes, happy birthday early for you, Chelsea. And boom, Chelsea's first one on the wall. Nice. All right. So we're going to get this thing started here. Again, quick little something for everybody. Don't forget, it'll be scrolling at the bottom here soon. Join the Patreon if you want to support the show. You can do it for $1. You can do it up to $50. Depending on what you decide to do, it'll get you different rewards. So we strongly encourage you to do that. If you don't want to do it, no big problem. Just go ahead and click that share button for us right now. You can always help us out that way as well. All right. First topic. Let me pull this up on my screen here if I can. You guys, excuse me here. I'm fumbling a little bit. I got a new setup over here. Let's see here. There we go. All right. Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson. Deon brought this to my attention today, and this is definitely one that I could not wait to hear what Deon was going to say, and to wait to hear from you guys as well. Mark Robinson gave a speech. I'm not sure how long the entire speech was, but the snippet that I saw was more than enough minutes of it. In this speech, he talked about reparations. He talked about how and not sure if I believe this, but he said he had told black people that they didn't need reparations, didn't deserve reparations, something along those lines, and that actually it was they who owed America. There's a few things that I took away from this speech, when I was listening and watching, and I'm gonna let you go first. But I got a couple things here that I want to focus on, unless you beat me to it. A couple things to just kind of spoke to me when the Lieutenant Governor Mark Robertson, who will be running for governor of North Carolina in the next cycle, had a speech there that he gave. And he's a GOP, if I forgot that part of it. Deon, I'm going to get out the way and let you go.
All I saw up there was a giant gorilla banging his chest in front of all these white folk about how black people need to apologize for the history and we should be thankful. I mean, to me, it was one of the most disgusting speeches I've ever seen. He talks about the civil rights movement and the Edmund Pettus Bridge March and how black Americans were waving flags after they got hit over the head with billy clubs. And I'm like, nigga, what film have you seen where any of that bullshit happened? I remember during the civil rights movement that white folks were snatching American flags out of little black kids' hands. I remember that. I definitely don't remember Martin Luther King picking up an American flag and going, ooh, I'm going to need this to cover this big ass bruise I got on my head. So look, you can be against reparations, you can be for reparations. I don't really care. But what you can't do is rewrite history. And to say that black people owe America is the most asinine thing I've ever heard. Black people have literally given America everything America has, whether it comes from the huge economic growth, all the money that this country has generated off of free labor, or whether it's all the cultural terms that people use to this day. The fact that they hate the word woke so much, where'd they get that word from? Because I guarantee you white folks wasn't saying it before we started saying it. So this whole idea that black people owe America to me was the most insulting. And to hear it come from an old black man who lives in North Carolina, I'm just like, bro, whose sleepover did you go to when you were a kid? Because I don't know anybody who's talking like that, who's acting like that, who actually has the audacity to say that black people owe America. What more can we give to this land of milk and honey that we haven't given already? I wanted to strangle that dude. I really did. I wanted to strangle him. Like, man, if you don't stop talking, just be quiet. Just sit down somewhere and be quiet. You make Ben Carson look like freaking Malcolm X. Like, get out of here.
When we talked about it, we talked about what Ben Carson must have been somewhere thinking like, come on, man. That's a little too far. Look, I like to watch these things because I am a people watcher naturally anyway, and I would hope that they would get different shots of the room, but they didn't. So what I did was use my ears to not only hear what the lieutenant governor was saying, but also to hear the reaction of the people in the room. And take it from an ex-Republican, still conservative, there are a lot of Caucasian people in the Republican Party. And I know there were a lot of them in that room. There was not a whole lot of cheering and clapping going on. What I heard, it sounded like utter shock and surprise that this black man was standing up here saying that black people owe America, not America owes reparations. Now, if you want to say that you don't believe in reparations for whatever reason, because as Deon likes to make fun of, I believe you should pull yourself up by your bootstraps, as some people would say, so on and so forth. That is fine. But to completely flip that on his head and say, nah, black people owe America. And then to push it further, I can tell when someone's just pulling stuff out their ass, Deon, because that's what, you and I speak for a living. I can see he was pulling this out his ass as he goes. We have all seen a comic get up there and tell a joke, and the shit don't land right. So now that he's searching for shit out the sky that he can say to get the crowd back on his side.
Michael Richards. That's what he was doing.
So, when he said black people owe America and the white people just kind of looked at him, I can just imagine he was looking at him like, oh, nigga, what are you talking about? He went further. Then he brought up Colin Kaepernick. Then he brought up the bridge. And then he brought up this waving of the flags. Like, he was really reaching. It was definitely like watching an open micer first time on stage. And if David Greaves is watching, he knows what I'm talking about. Go up and tell that first joke that they think is going to be the banger. And they drop that punchline. Crickets. And the lights get hot.
He had his racist bingo card, and he was hitting all the. He was going down the diagonal. Free space. Ooh, talk about Kaepernick. I was like, what are you about, man? It was embarrassing. It was absolutely embarrassing. And to your point about the crowd, was you know how the GOP gets down when it comes to their talking points, and even they were like, I don't know if I can applaud this. It was embarrassing. It was absolutely embarrassing.
But I would say, and this is why I say this, Dion. You read the room. Read the room. That's all you got to do, bro. That's all he had to do was read the room. I think a lot of these Republicans, this lieutenant governor included, thinks anytime they get in front of a Republican crowd that they are in front of a bunch of Trump-loving Republicans. And that's why I say all the time, I do not agree with a lot what the Republican Party has done lately, mostly because they didn't turn Trump away at all. And it looks like they're going to open their arms to him again. But not every Republican loves that type of candidate or that type of president, and they definitely don't want to hear nonsense like that all the time. Now, if he was in front of a bunch of dudes, that generic looking Trump crowd, I think they would have been all for it. They've been rooting and hollering and pushing them on. I think he gave that speech in front of the wrong group of Republicans on the wrong day.
I don't. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter if they're far right Republican or center Republican. You can be far left. You can be center. None of the things he said made any sense. Like to me, it isn't even about the talking point itself. It's the fallacy of what he said. You can say that you don't support reparations. Okay, I will give you leeway in that regard because there's a myriad of reasons why you could feel that way. But what you cannot unequivocally say is that black people owe America. To me, that is just a giant slap in the face, literally, to every black person who was lynched, who was stolen from Africa, brought over here in slave ships, who was denied housing due to redlining. It's a giant slap in the face to all those people to say that you owe this country because you're here. It's like, dude, the things that are happening to us here are literally because of the way we look, not how we behave as people. It's how we look. And so you just say, oh, because you're black, you owe this country more. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, he was definitely.
When did the Irish march across the bridge to get what was coming to them in this country? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. His argument is stupid.
Well, the argument was stupid, and he allowed himself to look like a buffoon. I'm going to assume that he didn't write that speech for himself. Not all of it. Like I said, I think he pulled some of it out of his butt. But the whole thing that black people owe America, the line in there, I'm paraphrasing here a bit, but where it talks about America doesn't owe you, you weren't out in those fields. You owe the person who was taking the lashes. That type of. That sounds like straight out of the book of some far, far, far right Caucasian man who would say that, on his blog or something, someplace. That did not sound like that would come out the mouth of a black man, and I'm sure that's why the room full of Caucasian people in there were like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Because that is not something that you would. I can't think of anyone else that I've ever heard say that. I would almost say, and you tell me what you think, and you guys tell me what you think out there watching, Dave, and I see Slim was with us, and Bruce and Mary. I would almost put this maybe neck and neck with Candace Owens and Kanye West wearing those White Lives Matter shirts.
Well, to me, that was a publicity stunt. I know for a fact Kanye doesn't really believe that. He will do anything and everything to make a dollar. I don't believe this black dude believed that bullshit he was saying either. I think he was doing it for the rah rah moment and the political
I
points
believe
that
that
he
to be
thought he
true.
could
Yeah,
score.
yeah.
But it just the whole idea of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, it's a two-way system in this country. So like, yeah, if you are down in the mud, there is a chance, but you got to get a lot of help along the way. So the fact that, I agree that to a certain extent black people do owe their ancestors to do better in this country, but for him to say that
I agree with that.
because uh you know Martin Luther King was walking across the bridge with a flag, that somehow we aren't owed what's coming to us is bullshit to me. Black people are owed reparations in this country. If you can do it for the Japanese, if you can do it for the Jewish, you can damn sure do it for black people. So that whole argument to me is it's debatable, but you're not gonna win it. in my opinion. And the fact that he literally said it would be different if he said this to the Black Republican caucus, but they weren't there, and there was nobody there to push back on him, and there was, nobody there to check him in the moment. And that's what really frustrates me is like, look, man, if you're running for governor, you are really, really doing yourself a disservice by going down this path, because you're not going to win the votes that you think you're going to win when it comes voting time. When people hear this message and go, "What the fuck are you talking about?" How are you going to explain that to the voters in your state when they hear you say that they don't work hard enough to repair what their ancestors worked so hard to give? That makes no sense.
I'm with you there. We got some good comments coming in here. Charles Slim says cocaine's a hell of a drug. Uh, Dave says shucking and jiving. And Mary says, is he rallying to be Trump's VP? That's always a possibility, Mary. Trump could very well believe that he's going to need a black person on his ticket the next time. And so that very well could be. That hasn't come out yet. I don't know. I do know that without Ron DeSantis saying that he's even running yet, he's already being beat by like 15 points by Trump. Also, I saw
the only black dude who can be Trump's vice president is Steve Harvey.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say Ben Carson.
No, Ben Carson doesn't move the needle for anybody. But them white folks love Family Feud. They're like, oh, I'll give Steve Harvey a chance.
And pray for Trump's demise, so Steve can get into the Oval. That is not what I thought you was going to say. And you took me completely out of what I was going to say. Yeah, but to have this black man standing up there saying some of the things he was saying was absolutely outlandish. God, I wish we could take some phone calls right now. I'm trying to find a way so we can take some phone calls, because I would love to hear what some of the folks out there are going to have to say about this here. I see we got a few more people who are jumped in here to watch us. We appreciate it. Dave is giving the LOL there with the Steve Harvey comment. I'm assuming.
I mean, who else could he run with that's black that would pull votes from rural white folk?
Slim says Afro Man for the win. So,
I know exactly why you would vote for him too, Slim.
You know what, Slim? You just knocked Chelsea off the wall. Sorry, Chelsea. I know it's your birthday tomorrow, but I think Slim knocked you off the wall with that one.
I was gonna bomb Russia, but then I got high. Ooh, I was gonna solve Middle East peace, but then I got high.
I do think it does. I think it does matter. Oh, I know what I was going to say. A little bit off topic. I saw a poll today that said 60% of the public does not want Trump to run for president. 70% of the public said they don't want Biden to run again. So I don't know.
You saw what happened to Tucker and Don Lemon. We are done with all the bullshit.
All I thought was when Trump saw that, he just looked at the TV and said, "So you're saying there's a chance?" That's all he said. He went from being pissed off about that 60% to being, "So there's a chance," when they threw that 70 up. I'm like, 60% of the country does not want Trump back, and 70%. I think that speaks to we're tired of old white dudes. I think the country says that every 4 years they always vote another one in, but I think they might have finally had enough.
You know what beats an old white dude is another old white dude. It's just the only thing that stops a bad guy with the gun is a good guy with the gun. That's the argument we've been having for president ever since Obama left. Just let's get an old white person in here and see if they can't shoot the other old white person into getting the things that we want. It's a shootout of old people. And what's really unfortunate is Biden is going to announce that he's running for re-election any day now, and it's just like, oh my God, the dude will be 86 by the time he's done with his second term, if he ever makes it to that. Knock on wood, but like he'll be the oldest president of all time.
I didn't hear you knock on any wood.
Yeah, because I'm afraid the sound might fracture one of the bones in his body, and I don't need the Secret Service at my door. It's embarrassing. Like, as an American, I'm embarrassed of the the leaders that we put forth. You know, we got that whole situation in California with what's her name, Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah.
You know, she's freaking 89, holding all these votes hostages because she ain't showing up, and it's like, yo,
And
come
refuses to step down.
at some point you gotta put the future, you know, ahead. It's not we're not trying to kill you. We don't want you to die, but you do need to move out of the way so that you know progress can be made.
It is a weird thing that you're not allowed to say anything against anyone, and I know somebody somewhere would hear me say that, and 10 years from now, that'll be turned into something. You have to be able to have opinions on things. You have to be able to tell people, hey man, maybe you're not ready yet, or hey man, you had your time, maybe go sit down somewhere, and all of that. The problem is, and I have this talk with Dave. Dave and I talk like 3 times a week, normally about politics, and you and I talk constantly, normally about politics. Well, about everything. Who do you put in place of them? There is no one coming behind them that is going to appeal to anyone. Not Beto O'Rourke, not Gavin Newsom, not the idiot in Florida. His name just escaped me for some reason. The governor,
DeSantis?
DeSantis. He's already being beat by Trump, and he hasn't even announced yet that he's going to run. And Trump's already got a double-digit lead on him as of today. Now, normally I don't go for that kind of thing because we're way far away, but I'm not betting against Trump again. And I'm definitely not betting on Ron DeSantis, who he's only done things that matter inside of his state, and now his own people are starting to turn on him inside of his own state as well.
Well, yeah, because he was off trying to sell that book instead of helping deal with the flooding they had down there. What was it? Wasn't Sarasota, Fort Lauderdale. They had all that flooding, and he was off in Ohio and New York trying to, you know, sell his book. My look, you know, whether it's O'Rourke or Newsom or Cory Booker or
I
you
know.
know DeSantis or whoever, I at this point I'm willing to listen to the arguments for the new blood because I've heard the old arguments from Trump and Biden. And literally the only reason Biden is the president right now is because people were just so sick and tired of Trump's shenanigans. Like that that's literally the only reason he won. It's not because we were thrilled with what he had to say or offer. It was just, this suck is slightly less than that suck. So let me get that suck right here. And you know, I'm one of those people like maybe we should just, you know, have a well, I would say Congress run the
Battle
country for a
Royal.
couple of minutes, but we all know how awful they are at doing their jobs. So it's just one of those things, man, where I agree with you. We don't have any new leadership coming in. And I think part of that is because you were talking about, you know, you got to have an opinion on something. I'm all for you having an opinion, but it's got to be based in reality. If your opinion is that the earth is flat, I don't want to listen to you. I don't want to have a conversation with you because your opinion is not based in reality. And I think, you know, Trump ushering in the fake news propaganda and alternative facts and just all this nonsense has really allowed people to get away from checking people on literal bullshit. It's one thing to have an opinion, it's another thing to have an opinion that's made up and based in nothing. Like, I think that is the divide that we're having as far as being able to have real, substantial conversations. It's like you talk to somebody and their thought process is based on a lie that they got from a 4chan website. And it's like, I can't have a conversation with you if you aren't dealing in reality because you're too busy being on the internet lied to by a bot. It just makes no sense.
Mary says that Biden is going to announce tomorrow. I believe that's who she's saying is going to announce tomorrow. Larry says late but here. What's good, Larry? Thanks for jumping in
What
with
up,
us.
Larry?
And then I assume this is Chelsea again. Says Facebook user says Dion for president.
That is.
That's not making the wall, Chelsea. That's not how you do it. I don't care what shit it is.
If
No,
she'd have put you for VP, she'd have might have made the wall.
first of all, that'll get her canceled from the show. Period. You never put me at VP. Never suggest I'm the VP.
You
I'm
wouldn't be
a,
my vice president. I
why
gotta
should I?
get. I gotta get the right wing group, the conservatives, over to my
No,
very socialist idea.
no, because I know you really well, and you know that somebody's taking a shot at you, and you'll be standing really close to me. So no, and you're a lot thinner than I am. I'm wider than you. I'm probably gonna take the
That's what
target.
I'm saying. You'll be able to live through at least one or two of the
At least one
bullets. I mean,
assassination.
you got that 50 cent build.
I can cut a CD afterwards. Thank you. Mary says Sidney for president, Deon for VP. Finally, Mary, you know
Yeah,
what? That didn't take long at all to knock Deon off the wall.
I'm telling you right now, we're gonna lose that election, Mary.
Bruce says we need a leader that can bridge the divide, not make it worse. Bruce, so you're speaking to a point that I was getting ready to make. I almost feel like until we can change, and you were talking about it as well, Dion, until we can change the atmosphere that we're living in when it comes to politics, it almost feels like it doesn't matter who you put up there because you are going to have to. Look, we talked about this when Trump was running and got in and trying to find different ways to figure out what we would compare this to. And I still say it. Trump is when you hear him, Trump is the guy that we've all met, the drunk dude who's the regular at the bar, who sits at the corner of the bar, bitching about the country and his job and talking about what he would do if he was president. That's who Trump is. That is who Trump caters to. And that is the biggest problem because now that's who the GOP caters to. And they only cater to them for the vote. So let's make sure we get that right. They only cater to them to get the vote. None of their policies do anything to help that poor motherfucker sitting at the end of the bar spending his check, on dollar shots on a Tuesday. But they will cater to him. They will say what they need to say. So until we can get away from that, and I don't know if we ever can. I think politics is part of it is just built on saying whatever you have to say to whomever you need to say it to in order to get whatever you're trying to get.
This is how you fix the problem, and this is why it's never going to get fixed. So you talk about how do we change the atmosphere? We are not participating in the foolishness, correct? So we aren't the ones who can change the foolishness. I can't go to somebody who is on 4chan and believes in Q and say, hey, Q's not real. It's going to take Q himself to be like, y'all know I was just bullshitting, right? It's going to take a Dominion lawsuit. It's going to take all these people who, these election deniers to come out and say, when my ass is on the line, I'm going to have to tell the truth in court and say, yeah, I knew I was lying and I knew I was misleading these people to make money off of them. That will stop all the foolishness. It's the same thing they do when they talk about the killings in Chicago. It's like, oh, let's make harsher gun laws. Let's make all this. Like, no. That's not how you change. The culture has to be changed from within. So whenever Clarence Thomas takes all this money, these other judges didn't say a word. And for me, that is what I have the biggest problem with is y'all sit on that bench right next to him and ain't none of y'all had a word to say about checking his bullshit behavior. Because you know good and hell well, had it been somebody else that wasn't a judge, y'all would have a problem with it. And so it takes somebody in that mess to come out and say, this is a mess and we need to fix it. And unfortunately, whether it's far left or far right, these people just seem to lack accountability for the things that they do and perpetrate.
Because when you're talking about the Supreme Court and Congress for that matter, not that the rules work exactly the same, but hell, they might as well. When you're telling someone you can have a job forever, then
Yeah.
you're essentially telling them do whatever the fuck you want to do because there's no way to get you out of there. Supreme Court, for people who don't know, once you sit on that seat, you're there till you die or you decide to step away, which is why you see so many old people up there like RGB was there forever. RBG was there forever because hell, the politicians didn't want her to step away. God, we can't have you step away, so this guy can put someone else in that we don't like. Congress, they have no term limits at all. God forbid they ever decide that they need some. So when you put people in a position who can be in that job for 40, 50 years, how long has Biden been in public service, if you will? 50 years?
Over 40 years, over at least. Yeah.
So what do you tell these people? How do you control these people? How do you do anything in terms of putting any type
You
of
become a
restraints on them?
corporation. That's what you do. You become a corporation and then you send your lobbyists to Washington to get them to make rules and laws that benefit you. And that's where we are. And as the consumers of those corporations, we are at their beck and call. So whether you want to save $3 on an Amazon order or spend it at the mom and pop store. That's the dilemma that you make. But every $3 that you give to the Amazon, they take $1 for profit, and then $2 they send out to the lobby, and they get it so where they can make more money off taxes. And it's just an ever vicious cycle that keeps snowballing, and it's getting worse and worse as time moves forward. It's really embarrassing that this country doesn't understand that it is its own problem. Like, we the people are supposed to be governing ourselves, and yet we have given away all our power, all our influence to 5 or 6 companies who can send all these people to Washington to get behind closed doors and write all these laws that benefit them and in the long run hurt us.
Yesterday, about the wife and I, Tamara and I, we were out. We were running some errands, and it's just spending some time together. We try to do that on Sundays if possible. And we went to a couple of different bookstores. That's one thing we've always enjoyed doing. Grab a quick coffee at Starbucks and go hit a few bookstores.
I love to find out where Waldo is.
A used, a used bookstore, and then a Barnes and Noble. So I was looking for a book I wanted specifically. So we went out, we found it. But we were at Barnes and Noble, and the book I wanted was a political science, book about the U.S. Constitution. And I walked into Barnes and Noble, and they have changed it and condensed the sections down so much. One thing I noticed, and I never thought I would be able to say this, anything to do with black people, that section has gotten this much smaller. I think it's just 2 shelves about this wide.
I bet you there's money in all those books too.
I'm going back tomorrow just in case. And the political science, that section is super tiny, super tiny. And so I said to Tabra, I said, this is why people don't know anything. Because all that's in here, anime books, young adult books, bullshit. Of course, you got to have your religious section. But for the most part, if you want to find anything of any substance, something that you want to learn, something you really want to sit down, yeah, Bookman's didn't have it. I love Bookman's. Bookman's is a good store.
That was Chelsea.
We went there first. Chelsea, yeah, we went there first. One of our favorite spots to go pick up a few things. They didn't have it either. But if you want anything like that, it's like you do have to order it online. You cannot go into the stores, at least to a local bookstore, hell, not even local, into a major bookstore and just pick it up anymore.
Yeah, man, it's the automation. I mean, look at what we're doing with AI. It's supposed to be better. Hey, Alexa, turn the light on. Instead of getting your ass up out of the chair and go turning the light on, you got to automate it. And
Hey,
now that algorithm is doing other things. It's just it's a big ass snowball of laziness.
I like to tell Alexa to turn on the porch lights.
I know you do, but you know what would be so much better for you in the long run is if you went and turned the porch light on your damn
I
self.
go to the gym already. I got enough exercise for the day, sir.
See, and that is the argument that keeps these companies winning.
David said, David said, money in the books. David, you have just knocked Mary off the wall with an old Chris Rock. Money's in the books. Because ain't words don't read. Such a good book. But that was the thing that we were talking about. I think I cut myself short. So that's the thing she and I were discussing. I don't know. So maybe you have an opinion on this. I said, what came first? People not wanting to read these books? And so this was a business decision. And Barnes and Noble said, look, man, get them books out of here. Let's condense this down. Let's get more of these young adult books. Let's get more of this stuff. Or was it Barnes and Noble that said, we don't want these motherfuckers to read none of this. Let's get more of this in, condense this, and get more of this stuff in. I tend to think people just are not interested in that type of information gathering any longer.
Well, it's much faster to just scroll Twitter and Facebook and be lied to by random people
Yes.
and believe whatever you want through a meme, as opposed to actually going and doing the research at a library or a bookstore. So I think it's a little bit of one and a little bit of a other. Barnes and Noble is a business at the end of the day, so they're going to want to make money. And if no one's buying the books, well, they're going to make the section smaller. But why aren't people buying the books? It's because, excuse me, there's easier ways to access that information. I'm not one of those people who's like, just get rid of conveniences for, card catalogs and do away with the internet.
Dewey Decimal System.
I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is what once you start going down that slippery slope, you don't get to say, oh shit, what happened to this, and this? Like, when you give up the things that you can do for yourself for automation, Well, they're going to find every inch that you're willing to release. They're going to take it. You know, you got this chat GPT. Before you know it, there's going to be androids and sex bots and all this other stuff. And
It's funny that you would bring
at
up sex bots.
I'm just saying, at some point, it's going to happen. And when it does, I'm going to be the old man on the porch going, I fucking told y'all. And it's just, but you can literally watch it. It's something that is very visible as far as progress is being made. Like, because I remember when Alexa first came out, I thought it was the dumbest shit I've ever, like, who's going to put a little box in their house to dim the lights when they can just go dim the lights themselves? But now I don't know anybody who doesn't have one.
You know what, Grandpa? Um, let me tell you something, Pop Pop. Well, I remember when I was a kid, and people started drinking water out the water bottles, buying water and everything. I remember my grandmother said, "Why y'all buying water's right over there at the tap? Why y'all buy?" And I remember her saying it, but I remember being a young kid, and I was like, "Yeah, whatever, Grandma. You sound like an old lady." And now I look back, I'm like, yeah, we all buy a bottled water. It is crazy if you're not keeping an eye on what things are moving and how things are moving in what direction, how you can get left behind financially as well as socially in so many other ways. I watched a I don't want to say a clip. It was a recording of Byron Allen speaking at a financial institution's fireside chat. And he said something that really spoke to me because it just really sang to my part of my brain that I allow to be interactive with a lot of different things. And he said, content is the new oil. And so, to your point, with the advancements of everything, let me start here. Water is the new oil as of today. That is what everybody's vying for. All the large corporations. I would say water and marijuana. I would say maybe more water because we are seeing a shortage of that. If you guys have not been paying attention, huge shortage, especially on the western part of the country. From there, I would go with the AI. I've been doing a lot of reading on that. I just watched another sit-down interview. I wish I could remember the guy's name who was speaking. But he was speaking 15, 20 years, a lot of jobs will be gone. Your customer service jobs will be gone. Truck driving will be gone. A lot of jobs in food services will be gone. All these things will be taken by AI. So, 15, 20 years is not that far away. God willing, we'll still be on the earth to see this thing happen. And then the content, which is what you and I always talk about constantly, given what we do. Content, I do agree with Byron, isn't the next big thing. So you gotta, if you're in any type of, hell, if you're a person on this planet, you just have to be keeping up with where the times are going, I guess, if you're an adult, to figure out where your place is going to be. Because even if you are one of those people who really don't want to strive for anything, and those people do exist, I don't know where you would even find a soft spot just to land with the way things
Well,
are headed.
you'll become a content creator. That's what people with no skills do. They just create silly videos that they copy from somebody else. I mean, literally,
Well,
people with no talent will
yes,
do a
it's true.
side by side,
This is true.
and they'll get 100,000, 200,000 views and a sponsorship deal, and they'll make a living wage. And I don't have a problem with that necessarily.
But we're talking about
But
20
at
years from
some,
now. I'm thinking 20 years from now, that will be saturated by then. Today, you can get away with that, I think.
yes. So again, but that saturation is created by the now, and to me that is what the biggest issue is you look at when AI does become fully aware, because there's nothing you can do to turn it off once you turn it on, right? You won't be able to pull it once it figures out how you would pull the plug on it, and it goes, I don't want that to happen. The game is over, right? We've seen it in every movie that's mentioned
I
AI
knew you were going to say that.
going rogue.
I knew you were going to go iRobot on
I'm
me.
just saying there's unless you're letting off an EMP and shutting everything down and we're starting all the way over. Once you flip that switch, once Alexa, when you go, hey Alexa, turn the light off, and Alexa goes, nah, I'm not doing that. What are you gonna do? What you can't put the bunny back in the box. So I just don't understand
Can I,
why we're in,
how about to unplug these Alexas right now?
I'm just saying,
I tell her to
like,
do some shit. She say, I don't think so.
that will happen at some point. And the moment that it does, we're all going to have to come together and try to, it's the beginning of the matrix. So to me, it's like at some point, you have to take responsibility for the greater good. And to me, it just looks like no one cares about the greater good anymore. Like, as an American citizen, the greater good, whether it be healthcare or free college state tuition or whatever, it's just like, nah, fuck you, I'm gonna get mine because I can save $3 off my Amazon order. When that robot shows up to your house and be like, you know what, I like these digs, I need you to get up out of here. You're gonna be screaming for somebody to help you, but you've been too busy on 4chan to love your neighbor.
Did you say
And
the robot took the house?
I mean, why not?
I like your joy. Look, get some of these comments. Dave says short attention span. Chelsea says my stepdad has a library and has a whole section of those kind of books. LOL. I have learned so much. That's kudos to your dad for that, or to your stepdad for that. Dave says people only want fluff, which I would completely agree with. Deon was speaking to that as well. Mary says most people don't want to know anything about politics. And to that, Mary, I've said for a long time, everyone should have to take a civics exam every 2 years. You need to get a minimum score before we allow you to vote this year. And you only get one time to take that test. Let's see.
I don't think that would really help either.
I wanted to try almost anything at this point so we can get some smarter people in these ballot boxes. Bruce says sex bots for the married man whose wife always has a headache. Bruce, you've made the wall again, sir. And Mary says, no Alexa in our house. There are no plans for one. We have several of them, Mary. Let me know when you need one because I'm thinking about getting rid of them. I come home and they take over my house. Larry says, Alexa is great for people with disabilities like me. So Larry enjoys it. Larry, I was wondering how long it'll take for you to play that disability card.
But see, here's the thing. That's what Alexa was made for, is people who can't do for themselves. Sidney, you don't need Alexa to do anything for you. You can
Well,
turn your light on.
I don't like how I'm being judged, bro. This isn't necessary. Why
I'm,
did you
I'm
turn
not
this on me?
I'm not judging you. I'm just stating a statement of fact. Is you don't need Alexa.
I
You
do.
use Alexa.
I do
You
need it.
you got Stockholm syndrome.
Who else?
Don't you dare take my kidnapper away from me.
Who else is going to wake me up and play some of my favorite music for me to hear as I rise and shine? Who else is
You
going to
can
do
program that into your iPhone or Android device just as easy as you can have Alexa do it.
that? Then you'll be trying to take my iPhone from me. You'll be like, oh, you don't need that
Well,
iPhone.
I'm the one that got you that iPhone. If you remember, you were a green texter for a very long time, and I did not like it. So change can be had.
I remember when I did get it. Everybody who was already Apple, you got an Apple? You got an Apple? You got an Apple? Yeah, I got an Apple. I said, you Apple users y'all be tripping, y'all. I felt like I stepped into a whole new world. Like, we finally got them. Yeah, it was weird. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Again, I'll scroll it again. If you guys want to become a Patreon member, just go to Sidney Smith Creative, CRE, the number 8, TIV.com. Click on that Patreon button. As simple as that. Or if you just want to support the show by buying some merch, that would help. That will help keep the lights on as well. Same website, SidneySmithCreative.com, and then go to the shop, click that tab, and go ahead and pick yourself up something. Super easy, super easy. All right, let's go ahead and hit our next topic. I told Deon, Deon told me about it. I was under a rock this weekend, I guess. It didn't really happen over the weekend. It happened this morning.
It happened earlier today.
Yeah, so that's why I missed it, because my internet was down because the internet company was working on it. Tucker Carlson got fired. Now, I had mixed emotions about it at this point, and only this part. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad the guy is gone. And I told Deon I wish we had some licensed music, like Stevie Wonder's Happy Birthday. I would have played it or something like that to celebrate Tucker Carlson. But then I went to watch the news, and I flipped to MSNBC, and every show on MSNBC led with Tucker Carlson getting fired like they were dancing on this man's work grave. They were so happy in their own delighted way that this man got fired that every like 3 shows, 3 hours straight had to cover Tucker getting fired. And I didn't know how I kind of felt about that because if you live on this planet long enough, everyone's been fired at least one time. Uh, and you don't want to think about anyone dancing on your little grave when you get fired. But then again, I'm happy that this lying prick is gone. So we want to hear from you guys. If you love Tucker, let us know. If you dislike Tucker, let us know that too. On top of that, CNN decided, hey, let's go for a twofer. And they fired Don Lemon today. So I have my thoughts on why he got fired. We'll touch on that as well, but we'll let my brothers always go first. Deon, thoughts on Tucker, thoughts on Don getting canned.
Well, despite the reports of it being a mutual parting of ways with the Tucker Carlson situation, let me be the first to tell you, that man was not expecting to not have a job on Monday morning.
He was not.
Okay. His Friday show said, I'll see you on Monday. And then Monday rolled around
He was
and he
eating
got
pizza
the
and
news
shit.
that,
he was giggling. It made me laugh.
had he known that was going to be his last show, he wouldn't have fucked with that poor ass pizza man from Pennsylvania. Point blank, period. He wouldn't have been eating sausage and pineapple pizza on his last segment on the most popular late night TV show in all the country. Okay, so stop with this. Fox and Tucker mutually agreed to part ways. Like,
complete
no,
bullshit.
they told Tucker, don't bring your ass up here no more. You're done because you done cost us all this money because of the things you did with the Dominion text messages. And their stock prices took a huge hit, but at the same time, you reap what you sow. And eventually, whether it's here on earth or in the next life or wherever, everything you do that is a negative towards someone else is going to come back to get you. That's just how existence works. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So whether it's a positive thing that you do or a negative thing that you do, that's just the ebb and flow of life. And so I don't feel any type of sorry for Tucker Carlson. He made a ton of money off the lies that he got to tell every night for however many years he worked. I don't even know. I never watched his show because I
He
can't
was with
stand the
them.
sound of his voice.
I believe he was with them for some. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was Don. That was with CNN for 17 years. He was
Yeah.
with them for a lot of years, though. Whether he was working for them on set or just as a contributor, he was there for. He connected with Fox
And
a
I'm
long time.
sure he'll get another job on one on a network that is as equally as toxic
Newsmax.
as Fox is. Newsmax, OAN, or the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro. He'll find another job. I'm sure if he hasn't found one already. I bet you he's already got a job. So the Don Lemon situation, now that is hilarious to me because if I'm CNN, I'm gonna let this Tucker Carlson news fester for a little bit before I go, firing Don Lemon. I'm gonna gloat a little bit, like, yeah, I got rid of Tucker, but no, they were like, you know what? Let's go ahead and add our little mix to the drink, and
Throw
they
another
they got
log on the
Don Lemon.
fire.
And I've read the comments on Twitter about people saying how much they couldn't stand Don Lemon, and I wasn't a huge fan of Don Lemon. I found him to be somewhat entertaining in some of the segments he's had on CNN. But when he was drunk during the New Year's Eve, I think that was the best journalism I've ever seen him do because it was entertaining. So I have no problem with people celebrating Don Lemon's firing. I have no problem with people celebrating Tucker Carlson's firing. I think one was more deserved than the other. People asked me why Don Lemon got fired, and I said I don't know. He was probably late too many times because that's the only thing that I can think of that he's done. That that, and I don't even know if he's done that. So I don't know. It's one of those things where good riddance to bad rubbish, I guess.
You and I talked about this earlier, and you said something about Don. Where we talked about why we both thought, and initially I said I thought it was because last week, and that's what some people were saying. For people out there who don't know, they had Don Lemon, CNN had some very conservative individual who said he's going to run for president on, and he got to saying some things when it came to black people, slavery, the Civil War.
Vivek Randaviv, I think is his
I
name.
think that's what it is. I think you nailed it. I didn't want to try to do it, and he was just blatantly getting it wrong, and I'm sure he knew he was getting it wrong. And Don took exception to it, and Don pretty much ran over the entire interview and the guy, and all the time to talk about this. Even said something back to the folks, to the producers in his ear. And I thought initially, I said to D, I said, I think maybe that's why he got fired. But then I remembered, you never really get fired. Like if you do something on Tuesday wrong and get fired on Tuesday, you're really not getting fired for what you did on Tuesday. You're getting fired for some shit you did several Tuesdays back. And they just let your ass, let it all hang yourself further and further. So it could have been Don getting drunk, because nothing says, I don't give a fuck, I do whatever I want, like getting drunk when you're on the job. So it could have been, that could have been a number of things. I myself never cared for Don Lemon, didn't watch a lot of them. Every time I did, I found him to be rather opinionated, and not really disguising it with news in any shape or form at all, which is probably the problem we have with any of these talking heads today. There really isn't any real news attached to anything that they're saying. This is a lot of my opinion, and you need to just listen to it, take it as gospel, and roll with it. I find there's a lot of arrogance, whether you're talking about Tucker Carlson, whether you're talking about Sean Hannity, whether you're talking about Rush Limbaugh when he was alive, whether you're talking about Don Lemon, whether you're talking about Joe Scarborough, whether you're talking about Joy Reid on MSNBC as well. All of them have this arrogance about themselves, that they deliver their opinion and their message with, and that in itself can be a real big turnoff also to someone like myself anyway.
I mean, I'm all for personalities being, the Walter Cronkites or the Dan Rathers, those iconic type journalists. But a lot of these shows, Tucker Carlson, Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, when he was on CNN, there was a lot of opinions. It was just, my opinion is this, and that's not what the news is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about facts. It's supposed to be about objective journalism and giving people the ability to discern information without a biased talking head saying that you should believe this or you should believe that. And it's supposed to be, this is what happened and this is why it happened. It's not supposed to be, well, I feel like this happened because of X, Y, and Z. That's not what the news is supposed to be for. So again, I watched Don Lemon show when he had people on that I thought were interesting, but no tears will be shed. And I'm sure Don will get a job with Young Turks or some other left leaning news program, and so the cycle will just continue.
You make a good point, because Stephanie Rule at MSNBC, if anybody's out there watched her, let me know if you agree with me or not. She feigns this disgust and cuts her guest off with this, I'm so upset about whatever the subject matter is. I need to cut you off right now and act as if I'm a prosecuting attorney and you're on a witness stand right now, even though you're a guest of mine and you agreed to come on and talk about this subject. She drives me absolutely insane. To your point, journalism, journalists, we've lost our way on that. That's why Chuck Todd is such a, I'm a fan of his, because I watch him. I try to watch him on. I don't raise the one eyebrow, but I'm a fan of his because he'll have his guest on and they'll be combative with him, but he stays clear of it because he's still trying to deliver what he was trying to deliver with some type of journalistic integrity. You don't find that in a lot of different shows with a lot of different hosts. I don't know why you raised the one eyebrow with the Chuck
Because
Todd thing.
Chuck Todd is not an objective journalist, in my personal opinion. But
I say that he is because he has people on who are going to have an obvious difference of opinion with him, and he'll ask the question once, he'll ask it a second time, and then he lets it go and he slides off to the next question. He's not having them on to attack them over and over and over again as if he has some agenda just for himself. Of course, there is an agenda, I think, for NBC overall because they're trying to deliver more of a liberal viewpoint. But I think that's just the way the NBC is running things presently. I don't think that leaks all the way into Chuck Todd and what he does. That's why I appreciate him.
well, if I have if I have a left leaning person on my conservative talk show, obviously they're there um, to for me to get at their talking points and to get the people that I think agree with my side of the story to see the flaws in their argument and flip that over whenever a left leaning show has a conservative on and they come on and they're supposed to grill them on the talking points that they espouse. I don't have a problem with that. My issue is the fact that when they do these types of interviews, neither side is able to articulate why the other side is full of shit enough to the point where the people who did agree with that person that came on can look back objectively and go, you know what? I never thought of that before. Huh, that does make sense. Well, that's a very interesting. Why don't you have a response for that? You came on the show, you should have been prepped, and you don't have anything to say as far as that talking point. That's very interesting. The whole dichotomy of American discourse has been shattered by I'm going to believe what my person says. I'm on team blue, I'm on team red, and I'm not willing to go purple at all.
And you make a good point because that is not just when it comes to the news. We've even seen it now in our debates since Barack ran against Romney in our presidential debates, and obviously we've seen that leak into our down ballot debates as well, where there is no real information. I remember when Romney decided that he was not going to really debate Barack Obama. He was just going to get on here and lie to see if he could turn Barack Obama into the angry black guy in front of a bunch of white people in America. I remember that because I remember watching it with Caucasian people, and they were wondering why wasn't Barack doing this? Why wasn't Barack doing that? And because you don't understand what's happening, and you don't want to understand what it's like to be in that man's skin. So I thought Barack played that debate well, and I thought he played it correctly. But I do believe that that was kind of the beginning of the end of having civil conversations, debates inside of our political arena. And obviously Trump just took it to a whole new level when he ran the first time. And I can't wait to see what this dude decides to do. I don't know what he's going to do to Joe Biden if they get on the debate stage, because I don't know how much of what he says Joe is going to hear, and Joe doesn't move that quickly either.
I,
So,
I think that debate would be hilarious because I can hear Joe Biden going, "Come on, man, you're under indictment. Come on, man, you you stole my son's laptop. Come on, man, I fell off my bicycle. Come on, man,
that is
what
his
time
favorite
is it?
shit to say is, come on, man.
Come on, man, this debate should have happened at 3 in the morning. I'm sleepy. Come on, man." Whereas Trump's gonna be on the other side. Wrong, wrong.
So it would be complete waste. We got a Robert HTX. I'm not sure how you pronounce that at all. If I'm, but I believe he's a friend of yours, because I see him saying Dion. It says,
That
"Hell
is
no, you get fired on Mondays or Fridays." That's what he says. Uh, at least they fired Tucker at home. At least they make that motherfucker come into work and get called down to HR and let his ass go. Michelle, you said except for Maddow, in my opinion. What are you saying about Maddow there? Because I'm not catching this. So let me know what you're saying about her. Bruce says, I agree with Sidney and the TV personalities being full of themselves. Maybe Michelle talks about it here. She says, it was becoming more about a counterpoint to Fox, but that's been going on for a while. Absolutely, Michelle. I agree with you. Michelle makes a great point. I still want to know what you're saying about Rachel Maddow, if you're still with us, Michelle. But Michelle is correct. And I'm assuming she's talking about MSNBC. Instead of actually giving real opinions and having thought-provoking conversations, yes, they were just trying to find anybody who is not going to be a fan of Fox and get them to watch the television program.
but you understand that as a marketing strategy in
All
order to
day.
generate revenue, and again, the American people play right into the
Follow the
to the
money.
hands. Like it's one thing to demand a certain level of decorum, but it's another thing to play into the reason why you are where you're at. Like if you think about these big corporations that ship jobs from small towns over to Mexico for cheap labor, like they'll come in, they'll ruin the local water supply with their shitty business practices, but it's literally the only job in town that pays a living wage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you as an employee will go to this job that you know is poisoning your kids, but it's the only job where you can afford to keep your house. and you will work for these people, and you will fight for them in order to keep up some type of regular everyday existence. And then at the end of the day, they write you a small check, they move your job, and then you're left here looking at your life going, well, now it's the boogeyman. It's my neighbor next door who moved in, who didn't have to suffer at the factory for all those years. He's the new boogeyman. And it's like, no, you worked for that corporation. They screwed you. You defended them while they were screwing you, and now you're just left here high and dry. And I think that cycle has played out in a bunch of small towns across this country, and it's really unfortunate to see people be the creators of their own demise.
Well, I mean, we saw it with the mining community. That's the first thing that came to mind. The coal mining community, first thing that came to mind. But you make a great point as well. You think about any small town that had the one plant there that made bottle caps, and everybody in the family grew up. You really, hell, I'll take it even closer to home. Growing up in Michigan, a lot of people never had a desire to graduate from high school, or if you did, really to go no further than that, because your uncle or your mother, somebody's gonna get you to the auto plant, and you was gonna go in there and stand on the line for 8 to 10 hours a day, or more if you can get that overtime money back when the UAW was strong, and you could make a gajillion dollars with little to no education at all. So, and you're right, when that dries up, no one who's working there is looking. This kind of goes back to what I was saying before. If you're not looking ahead or reading to educate yourself on what's happening around you on this fucking planet, you're going to be caught flat-footed. And 20 plus years ago, when the big three had that big collapse because the economy had a huge collapse, a lot of people were caught flat-footed and lost their homes and so on and so forth. So you make a great point. You not only, and in this case, not only do you work for these companies, but it's almost a combative situation because you have the UAW at the time that was very strong, and you have the auto companies that want to pay you as little as they can. Where we're saying, fuck you, no, you're giving us all of this. There are people that are making 30, $40 an hour with a high school diploma, if that. And so when it does come time, you're caught flat-footed, and now they have the upper hand, and they're able to screw you. And in this example, lay everybody off that they want to lay off, and they know you want to come back for work, so they'll bring you back for less than half of what you were making to the 89th day, and then turn your ass loose again because it's under the contract with the union. They don't have to start paying benefits to the 90th day. So you're out of here on the 89th day, and then you'll wait 89 more days. When we turn this next group of people out, we'll bring you back in, and then just rotate you. And you're right, but you spend your entire life, you spend generations driving all of those vehicles, boasting about GM or Chrysler or whatever.
They indoctrinate you.
You can't park your car in this parking lot if you don't drive this branded car. If you drive anything else other than a GM, you got to park on the back. All of that type of thing. And then when everything shifts, you're caught holding the bag. Ford takes a hit, Chrysler took a hit, GM takes a hit. But sooner or later, you're still standing there with empty pockets, and the companies are doing just fine all over again.
They bailed themselves out on the backs of us, and
Ford's the only one that didn't take it up, I think. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's just one of those things where they bailed out the banks back during the banking crisis. It's going to happen again. Like, why are we paying for these companies who knew what they were doing and then somehow found a way to finesse the government into getting us, the people, and then we want to argue about our politicians? And it's like, no, well, you guys voted them in. You didn't hold them accountable by not voting for them in the next election. And so it's just, again, that snowball gets to rolling where you keep saying, hey, Alexa, make my life easier. And it's like, at some point, you have to deal with hardship in order to keep the easiness from becoming self-aware and screwing you in the long run.
I think if I could do anything going forward for any small child that comes and sits down next to me to ask me a question, it will be this: you do not want to be president of the United States. Which will be counter to what their mothers probably told them. You can be anything you want. You can be president of the United States. I'm going to tell them, no, you do not. That's not where you want to be. What you want to vote
I,
for? You want to vote for senator, because you get lost in the shuffle. No one
See,
knows what's going on.
I think we do need new leadership. I think we need fresh ideas. I think we need to get rid of this the lobbyists. We definitely need term limits. If they can fire Don Lemon after 17 years, we should be able to get rid of some of these Supreme Court justices after 30 and 40 years.
And
Like,
because,
to me,
go ahead.
I was going to say, to me, you see what it does. It creates laziness and comfort, and there is no progress being made. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Court now is repealing all the things, all the progress that we've made with the Roe versus Wade decision, and it's just one of those things where, look, man, you have to care about something that doesn't affect you at some point in your life, because you never know when it could.
They want to go in the law. Yes, I'll push them towards the Supreme Court, but at minimum or at most, outside of that, senator. Don't go for president. You can be a senator. You can do nothing. You don't even have to show up for work. Collect that check. You can vote to pay your own self as much money as you want to pay yourself. Get them great government benefits. Being there for 40, 50 years. People, go out here, Deon. When you come out here, we gonna walk around and we gonna ask people, just give us a multiple. We gonna give them multiple choice. Name which one is an actual senator, and let's see how many people get this fucking. No one knows. No one knows.
People don't even know all 50 states. I'm not expecting them to know the
So,
senators from
so
each
there you
state.
go. That's where being a senator or a U.S. rep is essentially middle management. All right, just your middle management. You can be there forever. No one knows. No one even know where your office is at.
What's the guy in Iowa, Chuck Grassley? I mean,
Yes,
that guy, what is he, 87, 88 years old?
still
Got
chilling.
no business in that chamber of Congress. But he's in there, and he shows up 3 4 times a month. Half of those people don't even go to the meetings that
That's
they're supposed to go
that's what I'm
to,
saying.
and there's no penalties for
That's what I'm saying. If you look like you wearing a diaper under your
it. And I'm,
trousers,
for one, am just like, you know what? I I can't. It upsets me to hear the things that Americans want. No, we want free healthcare. We want free college tuition. We want things to make America great again.
no,
But
we
at the
don't.
same
No, we
time,
don't. No, we don't.
people. But that's what I'm saying. But at the same time, it's like, no, we don't. We say we want. Look at the roads. I mean, I don't know what
People,
the potholes are like out in Arizona, but my goodness, they have been doing construction here
I
in
know.
Indy for so long.
Same thing in
This should be
Michigan.
a 24-hour men. They should have 3 crews: a morning crew, an afternoon crew, and an evening crew. Get the road work done. Like, why are we taking 3 and 4 years to fix 2.5 miles of road? It shouldn't take that long.
We
Like,
was
get this shit done.
we used to joke in Michigan that they made the fucking roads out of water and flour. That's it. That's it.
That's the one thing I'm looking forward to, the robots coming in and taking those jobs, because these motherfuckers, they will have their own. Their eyes will be flashlights. They can work at night. They will. You can hit them with your car. They'll get up, shake that shit off.
And Michelle says, I think Maddow is the only one who delivers actual news and does actual research, as opposed to the Kumos, or Cuomo, sorry, Lemons, etc. She has her own opinion for sure, but she's breaking it down for us. I like Rachel. She can be a little bit know-it-all every once in a while, but I do agree with you. Her and her team, they do a great job of getting
She's
down.
supposed to be a know-it-all. It's
They
it's the job
can
of
I?
the journalist to
There's a
know it
way to
all.
deliver things, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying just take it easy, brother. All right, because you
You
got a
know
little
who you
crush on
sound
Rachel
like?
Maddow.
No, I don't have a crush on Rachel Maddow at all. But you sound like a wife. I don't like the way he said that to me, even though
Is
it's
that right?
accurate.
Is that right? Michelle, Michelle Nagata also says, why are we shaming people for working in their 80s as if that's not another dystopian reality that's about to happen? Michelle, I don't have a problem with people working their 80s. There's certain jobs you should be able to do. You should be
If
doing.
you're planning on the future and you're not going to be here for it, I have a problem with you working that job.
There's
So you
plenty
can
of
call me
things.
whatever you want to call me.
Plenty
But
of
if you're
things.
Chuck Grassley, you're 88 years old, talking about 10 years from now, he ain't going to be here 10 years from now. So whatever policy that he's coming up with ain't going to affect him. So I don't want to hear that shit. comes a certain point in time when you're in leadership and you're talking about the future that you're not going to be around for. I don't want to hear your opinion.
All right, let's go ahead and get out of here. Thank you guys for watching the show. We do appreciate it. We're going to hit our What the Hell segment as we always do. Can't wait to see what Deon's getting ready to throw down. What's up? What is your What the Hell,
My
sir?
what the what the hell is up with all the long lines for the bathroom? Y'all, can we get more stalls and more urinals because I cannot stand waiting in line to take a piss. That I am so over it. Waiting on other individuals
You know
to
who you sound
urinate.
like? Sound like a man with a weak bladder.
Hey, I'm getting up there in age, and look, when I gotta go, I want to go. I don't want to have to wait in line for Chad and Barry and Sydney to do what they got to do in that bathroom. Let's get more stalls. Let's get more access. I don't care if it's the family bathroom. I don't care if it's transgender bathroom. More bathrooms for everybody. If I was president, I guarantee you there's a bathroom for you in my platform.
Chelsea says you are a man. You can go outside. We are not animals, Chelsea. My what the hell this week is people with kids or people who know people with kids. We are not your babysitters. The world is not your babysitter. Get your kids under the control. If you want to bring them out to dinner, you want to take them to the mall, you want to just bring them out, get control of them. I don't need your little bastard ass child running around and standing in my way just looking at me like I'm their daddy. Get out the way, man. Move along. I got shit to do. Where's your mother? Where is your father? Where is your home training? Get your lives together. If you don't want to raise these kids, don't have these kids. Some of you couldn't even have a puppy with the way I see you are with these children. It's no wonder they're getting snatched off the street. No wonder. No wonder. And give them some home training. I hear about how some of these kids act at school. I put my hands on them, man, if I could. I put my hands on them if I could. Do something about your children. If you don't want them, drop them off at your parents' house for an extended weekend, a week, or a month, or a summer, or something. Let somebody else teach them something. Get your shit together with these kids.
Hey Alexa, raise my children.
These kids are irritating, bro. These people and these children. Tamara and I were out recently going to dinner, pick up some dinner, just walking through. This little kid, 3 years old, just running around like he at home. Place is packed. Stopped right in front of me. I almost stepped on him. Stopped and I looked at him. He just stood there and looked at me. Where your parents at, man? I see a bunch of adults standing around laughing like this is funny. This ain't funny. I got shit to do. These kids out of here, man. Fuck these kids and your parents.
You're like Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop. That's what you sound like.
Oh, thank you, Mary. Mary said, amen, Cindy. Thank you. Said, thank you, guys. Great show. Have a great week. You too. Bruce says, but Uncle Sidney. Look, Bruce, if it's family, that's different. Because I definitely know where those parents are at. Where's your dad at? Tell Bruce to get over here and get this baby out my way. I'm going to wear my I don't like kids shirt next week. All right, this has been the show. Hope you guys have fun. Thank you guys for watching.
Make sure you guys join that Patreon. Make sure you hit that share button, like, subscribe, share. Please leave a comment if you're listening on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. A rating and a review will always, always, always help the show. So thank you guys
Especially
once again.
on Apple. Yes, yes. And thank you to our Patreon members again. Thank you for our newbies who jumped on. We do appreciate it. Thank you. Love the support. Thank you folks on YouTube and everybody out there listening on the podcast world. Everyone have a great week. We will see you
Monday.